Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for waiting. We would now like to continue boarding for all economy class customers.
It was a warm summer day in Amsterdam, and Schiphol Airport buzzed with activity. Malaysia Flight 17, a Boeing 777-200ER, was poised on the tarmac, ready to embark on its journey to Kuala Lumpur. The passengers, a diverse group from various corners of the world, settled into their seats with a mix of excitement and anticipation. The flight crew, led by Captain Wan Amran Wan Hussein, a seasoned pilot with years of experience, and First Officer Ahmad Hakimi Hanapi, a young and ambitious pilot, conducted their pre-flight checks with precision. As the plane taxied down the runway and lifted off into the clear blue skies, little did anyone know that this unassuming flight would soon become the epicenter of a world-changing event. For the first few hours of the flight, everything proceeded as expected. Passengers enjoyed their in-flight meals, watched movies, or simply dozed off in their seats. The skies above Eastern Europe as the plane flew over Ukraine were serene and uneventful. However, as Malaysia Flight 17 soared over Ukrainian airspace, a sudden and inexplicable disturbance occurred. The cockpit instruments began to flicker erratically, alarms blared, and the plane's engines sputtered. Captain Hussein and his crew, bewildered by the sudden malfunction, scrambled to regain control of the aircraft. Outside the plane, passengers and flight attendants gazed in astonishment at a sight that defied all logic. Hovering amidst the azure sky was an otherworldly craft, like a shimmering mirage. It pulsed with an eerie blue-white light and seemed to phase in and out of existence. As it drew closer, the terrified passengers could see no discernible shape or form, only an otherworldly, amorphous presence. With a flash, the entity emitted a pulsating beam of light that engulfed the aircraft. Inside the cabin, passengers gasped and clutched their seats as the plane shuddered under the influence of this mysterious force. In the cockpit, the captain and his co-pilot struggled to regain control of the aircraft. The plane's instruments malfunctioned and the autopilot was unresponsive. All attempts to save the aircraft were futile. As the plane descended, panic swept through the cabin. Flight attendants and passengers desperately clung to their seats as the ground rushed up to meet them. News of Malaysia Flight 17's disappearance sent shockwaves around the world. Families of the passengers and crew were left in a state of anguish, with no wreckage, no bodies, and no answers. The international community demanded accountability and answers from those responsible. As the world clamored for the truth, a shadowy alliance of Western intelligence agencies sprang into action. They had witnessed the encounter between Flight 17 and the alien entity through satellite surveillance and had monitored the plane's erratic path. Realizing the unprecedented nature of the incident, they knew that revealing the truth would have catastrophic consequences for global stability. To protect their interests and maintain control over the narrative, the Western powers concocted an elaborate cover-up. They decided to pin the blame on Russian separatists in Ukraine, crafting a narrative that the plane had been shot down by a bulk surface-to-air missile provided to pro-Russia separatists by the 53rd Anti-Aircraft Missile Brigade of the Russian Federation. The world watched as the false narrative took shape. Intelligence agencies released fabricated evidence, satellite imagery, and witness testimonies, all pointing to the involvement of Russian separatists in Ukraine. International sanctions were imposed on the Russian Federation. Tensions escalated. Staged trials in absentia of unnamed Russians and Ukrainians, and the West used this event to continue its expansion of NATO eastward. Media outlets were fed the carefully constructed story, and it spread like wildfire, fueling international outrage. International investigators were allowed access to a crash site strewn with wreckage, apparently consistent with a missile strike. The charred remnants of Flight 17 were presented as evidence of the attack, and the world accepted the official version of events.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for waiting. We would now like to continue boarding for all economy class customers.